Hi, I'm Nicky Luis and welcome to The Guest List. Today's show is all about entertainment, everything that you need to know with regards to entertainment for your ceremony and for your reception. I am joined today by Brendon from 11 Degrees Entertainment. Welcome, Brendon.
Hi Nicky, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Later on in the show, I am also going to be joined by Kenneth and Andrew from the brand Off the Wall, and also Theresa, who is a bride in the process of planning her wedding, will also be coming in. So we're going to be following Theresa's story as she's planning her wedding. She's getting married in about 6 months' time, so we're going to be following her journey and finding out about what she is going through. So first of all, Brendon, we are going to be looking at what is happening in the whole wide world of entertainment with regards to a wedding. Lots and lots of things to discover and discuss. But first of all, a big shout out to another muso who recently got married, our very own Dane Rumble, who married his longtime partner, Nicky Phillips. They got married in Bali.
Oh,
yes, they did.
very nice.
And so only a couple of photos have been released, but Nicky did post a very, very cute photo on Instagram of their two dogs with just married on there, which was
really?
Yeah, which was very, very cute. So, but now onto the topic of entertainment for a wedding. We're going to take a quick look at this YouTube clip. Have a look at this. Isn't that brilliant? Absolutely great. I love the way that people put so much effort into something like a first dance.
Yes, they're breaking the tradition a little bit, aren't they?
They are. It's really, really cool. And they've gone to so much effort. And, it just shows you that you don't have to stick to that tried and true and, as you say, that old traditional type of thing. Because what did people do traditionally?
Well, they think they need to do the standard waltz. And I think people's minds have been expanded a little bit. Obviously YouTube clips of other people's ceremonies and celebrations help. So yeah, it gives them food for thought and maybe tailoring their own first dance around what they want to do rather than what traditionally has been expected of them, I think. But
then people shouldn't also feel pressured that they have to create something like what this couple have done, because that's quite cool, what they've done.
Obviously very creative types, and maybe they've got a bit more time on their hands.
That's very true. Right, so when we come back from the break, Brendon and I are going to be talking about everything to do with entertainment, and we'll see you after the break.
The Guest List is made possible with support from wedding champions who make your magic day possible. People like Edgewater Resort in Rarotonga, the perfect spot for all your family and friends to celebrate. And what a place to have that honeymoon. Thinking weddings and honeymoon, think Edgewater Resort, Rarotonga. And speaking of dream holidays or a wedding overseas, talk to travel managers. Right throughout New Zealand, they can process all your travel needs. That idyllic honeymoon is just moments away. Call one of their specialists, Anita Gatley Travel. Specialising in everything wedding, give Anita a call on 09 845 2150. 09 845 2150.
So Brendon, entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, often when I talk to a couple and I talk about the entertainment side of a wedding, they immediately go to the end of the wedding and the party side. But actually there are elements of entertainment right the way through the wedding, starting at the ceremony.
Certainly there is, yes.
Yeah. And it starts at the ceremony, and then there's the between part, which is the ceremony and the reception, and then there's finally the reception bit. So let's start right at the beginning. Let's start with the ceremony. What do couples need to think about with regards to entertainment for the ceremony bit?
Well, I think they need to, first of all, decide whether they're going to be having the ceremony inside or outside, so the venue has some bearing. whether it's a traditional style wedding or something more contemporary. So they may be looking at a string quartet versus a jazz band of sorts. So that would be one of the considerations. Budget certainly is.
If they weren't going to go with something live, what could they do in forms of a playlist?
Well, certainly they can construct their own playlists. The availability of downloading music from places like iTunes gives them an opportunity well in advance to tailor their own package. But then they need to consider how are they going to play that, because if they've got guests of 80 or more, a standard little MP3 player isn't going to be substantial enough. If it's outside, certainly they need something bigger. So maybe they need to consider going to a professional supplier to help them arrange all of that.
What do they need to look at in forms of song choice? If you're looking at a traditional style of ceremony with all the key elements, how many songs or tunes do they need to choose?
Well, that's a pretty open-ended question, really. Personal choice is what dictates what they play. If they're looking at traditional songs, it's fairly closed book. There's probably a good 12 odd popular songs that they could be using from the classical genre. However, if they're looking more contemporary, well, it is a personal choice. And it's probably a choice they want to be making closer to the event, because as contemporary music is played on the radio, for example, it can get a little bit tired 3 months from the time it was released. So maybe they're not looking to perhaps play that music then.
Now, with regards to the ceremony itself, how many songs or tunes should a couple be considering choosing if you're looking at a traditional style of ceremony?
Well, first of all, they need to decide music for the processional, which is when the wedding party enters into the church or where the wedding's going to be taking place. They may consider having special music for the mother of the groom, for the bridesmaids, and maybe something special for the bride herself. So yes, probably 2 or 3 songs would be a good starting point. They need to have some music for the signing of the register. Generally, someone will choose maybe 1 song, but it takes at least 8 minutes, which is about 2 songs, to go through that process. At the end of any ceremony, there is the recessional, which is as the couple move out together, and there needs to be some music for that. I would suggest having something nice, upbeat and lively for that, because it is the end of that formal part of the wedding process and it's time to celebrate.
Yeah, and it's also a good idea that whoever's going to drive that music component or that entertainment component is there for the rehearsal, so they know when to play all those different elements?
Certainly, timing is everything. There's nothing worse than the bride walking down the aisle and the music stopped. It just wouldn't go down very well. And of course that'll be captured on video and everybody will be talking about that, and that's not something that they want to be focusing on in later years, is it?
No. So now if a couple comes along to somebody like yourself as a supplier or another entertainment supplier, what are the kind of questions that they should be thinking about asking before engaging with that particular supplier?
I think they need to consider what equipment's being supplied. Mm-hmm. If it's a DJ, does he supply or she supply the whole the package, or is it just their skills?
Yeah, so that includes things like lights and sound and all of that as well?
Yeah, lights and sound. Mm-hmm. And is the sound going to be just for the dance floor, or the sound going to be needed for speeches for the whole reception space? Mm-hmm. Contracts, when they book the entertainer, are they covered?
Right.
That's really important, because what could happen is that DJ or band could get another job, they might be paying more, and they might just decide to take that higher paying job. And you want to be confident that you've booked them and they're going to turn up.
In. Yeah.
Yeah, and also duration of their performance? How long are they going to be there for? And what is your expectation? And you really need that down in writing. You need to discuss those things.
Yeah, I think that is very, very important. And then also other little things that I think people are unaware of is that you need to provide a meal for the entertainment that you booked. Also, what you expect either your DJ, your band to wear.
Importantly, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're having a black tie event, a black tie wedding, and your DJ rocks up in jeans and trainers, you would be quite upset. So I think it's clear that all of that is actually worked out and discussed within the meetings.
Yep, you want to make sure that those expectations are met and exceeded.
Brendon, it's been absolutely lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I think the viewers have got loads and loads of information that they can now take away and discuss with either yourself or with other suppliers as well. So thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Brendon, if somebody wanted to get hold of you, how do they get hold of you?
Probably best my website, 11degrees.com.
Fantastic, thank you. So I've been talking to Brendon from 11degrees.com, and if you'd like to get a hold of him, please do. I can highly recommend his services. After the break, I'm going to be talking to Kenneth and Andrew from Off the Wall.
The guest list is made possible with support from wedding champions who make your magic day possible. People like Edgewater Resort in Rarotonga, the perfect spot for all your family and friends to celebrate. And what a place to have that honeymoon. Thinking weddings and honeymoon, think Edgewater Resort, Rarotonga. And speaking of dream holidays or a wedding overseas, talk to travel managers. Right throughout New Zealand, they can process all your travel needs. That idyllic honeymoon is just moments away. Call one of their specialists, Anita Gatley Travel. Specialising in everything wedding, give Anita a call on 09 845 2150. 09 845 2150.
Hi, I'm Nikki and welcome back to the guest list. I am joined by Kenneth and Andrew from Off the Wall. Hi guys and welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having us.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. So, one of my first questions, how did Off the Wall start?
Can I answer this?
Please be my guest.
Okay, I called up a few buddies and asked them to come around to my house, and I thought I had this good idea that, got these friends who play instruments, let's do this thing, play some songs that we love and try and play them out in public, and it all went from there.
And it's much more satisfying to play music with musicians that you really like rather than just playing alone in your bedroom.
So when did all of this happen? How long have you been going?
That was back in 2007, so.
Is it still the original band or is it morphed since then?
Well, we've had various members come and go, but we're the two original members. We're kind of like the Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley of Auckland covers bands.
So covers band, so that's what you are. You're a covers band?
Yes.
And typically what kind of music do you cover?
I guess top 40 classic hits, old and new, everything from ABBA to ZZ Top. So we play a lot of old songs by artists like the Beatles, the Stones and Bob Marley to newer things like Avicii and Bruno Mars and CeeLo Green.
Well, first of all, Andrew, what do you do in the band?
I'm the drummer.
Right.
And that's all they let me do.
Oh,
so
really?
I just play the drums. Just whatever else needs doing.
Kenneth?
I play guitar and I look after quite a lot of the band admin, which is the most important part of the band. Well, we've done everything from weddings to fundraisers. We've played balls, Christmas parties, birthday parties, the whole gamut of events. But we tend to play more weddings, don't we? I know just in the first 3 months of this year we did 14 weddings alone.
Wow. One of the things that I do like about you guys is that you do still play in some of the pubs, and that is a great thing because somebody who is wanting to book you, especially a couple who are planning a wedding, they can actually go and listen to you prior to actually booking you, which is a little bit unusual because a lot of bands don't have that facility or that opportunity. So a couple are booking almost blindly, and I think that's very much in your favour, which is very, very cool.
And I think that's the key for couples looking to book a band. It's really good for them to be able to come and see us to make sure they like what they see, and it's also, I think, important for them to make sure that the songs we play, the songs on our list, are comparable with their tastes. And I think it's also important for couples to look at the testimonials on a band's website, because that says a lot.
Have you had any really strange requests from song requests?
Yes. I can think of one client in particular who went through our repertoire list. Oh yeah, this looks good. I definitely want you guys, but I don't want any disco. I don't want any funk. I don't want any 80s rock. Don't want any R&B.
And don't want any pop.
So we communicated with them and said, you need to tell us what you want. And they said, we just want your indie, Brit pop, indie stuff. So we played a whole night of Brit indie 90s type stuff. They loved it.
Brilliant.
So the client was right.
Yeah. and that happens sometimes. There was one wedding that had a Guitar Hero theme, and they only wanted us to play classic rock from the 70s and 80s. So they said no funk, no reggae, none of that, just classic rock, and that went really well. But I think in most cases we like to show our versatility and cover a wide range of styles.
When a couple is thinking about hiring a band, such as yourself, what would you suggest that they be asking in forms when they first engage with you guys? What kind of questions should they be asking?
I guess the song choice is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're also, a lot of the time we find they're quite concerned about noise, and the venues have said to them, no, you can't have a band, or it needs to be this volume or whatever. We've never had a problem. We've always been able to adjust to it. That's a big one that pops up more and more.
There are always some considerations with the venue, such as, is there adequate staging, or is there at least a flat floor that the band can play on? It helps if there's some lighting for the dance floor. Power is very important as well. But apart from that, we find that most weddings are fairly straightforward and fairly easy to arrange from an entertainment point of view.
Do you normally go and do a site inspection of the venue if it's somewhere that you haven't played before?
Occasionally, we find that a lot of the places we're playing at the moment, we've played there multiple times anyway. So there's a venue in Kumu, and just by accident we ended up playing 4 weddings in 4 nights in a row. And it was a complete coincidence.
Did you get to leave your gear there?
We did.
Oh, good.
We did.
You didn't have to keep setting up every time. That was good. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. Absolute pleasure having you here. If a couple would like to get hold of you, which I'm sure they are going to want to, what is the best way of reaching you?
Our Facebook page is facebook.com/offthewallnz, and our website is www.offthewallnz.com.
Fantastic. Andrew, Kenneth, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Nicky.
Lovely. So I've been talking to Kenneth and Andrew from Off the Wall Band, and again, I can highly recommend these guys. I've seen them in action a few times, and they really do get the dance floor absolutely pumping. After the break, I'm going to be chatting to Theresa, a bride who is in the process of planning her wedding, and we're going to be following her journey to see how she is getting on.
The guest list is made possible with support from wedding champions who make your magic day possible. People like Edgewater Resort in Rarotonga, the perfect spot for all your family and friends to celebrate. And what a place to have that honeymoon. Thinking weddings and honeymoon, think Edgewater Resort, Rarotonga. And speaking of dream holidays or a wedding overseas, talk to travel managers. Right throughout New Zealand, they can process all your travel needs. That idyllic honeymoon is just moments away. Call one of their specialists, Anita Gatley Travel. Specialising in everything wedding, give Anita a call on 09 845 2150. 09 845 2150.
Hi, welcome back to the guest list. I am now joined by our bride-to-be, Theresa. Theresa is in the process of planning her wedding, along with her groom, Doug. Welcome, Theresa.
Hi.
Thank you for joining me. First of all, we need to set the scene a little bit. So we're going to talk all about how you and Doug met, and then we're going to talk about your planning. We're going to be checking in with you as you go down the planning. So we'll talk to you probably in about 4 months' time, and then we'll also be talking to you after the wedding as well, and we'll look at all your lovely photos and maybe a video if you have that too. So first of all, how did you and Doug meet?
Well, it is a bit of a long and awkward story. I originally met Doug at a memorial for a friend of ours. Awkward. And then a few months later, a friend and I, we decided we'd go travelling, and we went over to Paris, stopping in to London on our way, where Doug was living at the time. My friend knew Doug really well, so we decided the three of us would go out to dinner one evening, and we really hit it off. We had such a good time, and then him and I continued on in the night and had a few drinks. Went off to Paris with my friend, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to cut my holiday in Paris short, so that must be something, and went back to London a day early, where Doug had planned this amazing date for me. During the day we went to Hyde Park and rollerblading, rowboats, we played with all the toys and Hamleys, went down Regent Street with masks of Will and Kate because it was about the time of the royal wedding. And we just had this great time, and Doug took me to the airport and I flew off, and as I was on the plane I was thinking, you know what, this is something, and I was quite upset to be heading home. So when I landed, I get this phone call. Guess who it was? It was Doug. And he turns around and he goes, I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but I thought we'd try dating. So we had 6 months long distance dating or courtship, where we spent pretty much every day talking or emailing. Once a week we'd have a Skype date where we'd spend a few hours talking to each other, cooking and watching movies and all sorts. About halfway through that we decided, you know what, we'll meet up halfway in Asia just to see if the spark is there, because after one date it's a bit hard to tell. And then we really hit it off. So 2 months after that Doug moved to Melbourne where I was, and that's where our story really began.
That's fantastic, that's amazing. But Doug is a Kiwi as well?
He was originally born and raised in Zimbabwe, and he moved to New Zealand when he was 16. So he's Kiwified enough.
That's an incredible story. That's really, really beautiful. So it's obviously meant to be.
I like to think so.
I think that's you've definitely stood the test of time. How did he pop the question?
This was last year when we went to Singapore. We're at the Formula One.
Because he is a bit of a Grand Prix.
He's a bit of a Formula One nut. Yep. And to be fair, there could be worse sports that he's interested in. True. So we went over there for holiday, and we were in between races, like in between practice races, and it's a long hot day. We'd been walking all day and I was getting pretty grumpy at this stage. So he was making all these suggestions about going up the Singapore Flyer, and I was like, no, it's too hot. I'd rather just rest and wait till the next race. And then he's like, oh, what about we go up Marina Bay Sands? It'd be really great to watch it from there. Marina Bay Sands is ages away. I'm like, no, I just want to relax, get some food, have a drink. So we ended up sitting on the waterfront, the Esplanade there, and I was just taking some photos across the water, and I turned around with my camera, and there's Doug on one knee with a ring, and there's actually a photo of him. It's a bit blurry because I'm like, what? But he's there on one knee with the ring, asked me, and I was just, of course, I answered, are you sure? But yes, it was a really lovely surprise, that's for sure.
So how long ago was that now? That was
September last year, late September last year.
Okay, and you've pretty much been planning since then?
Yes and no. We kind of, when you get engaged the first time, all you want to do is have these amazing, you've got all these ideas and you really want to, get stuck into it. But because we decided on a summer wedding, we're a bit too late for this summer just being.
Right.
So we held off, and I thought with Christmas and parties, why not just prolong this wonderful time and be really engaged and just have a blast. So we started planning probably about February last year.
Okay. So what have you got in forms of, when is the date first start?
So we're going 1st of February 2015,
okay.
So next year, about 7 months away.
Okay. And venue, which venue have you decided on?
We've decided on Cassell's out in the Waiatakere's. It's really stunning. They've got this beautiful garden and courtyard, and it's built right in the middle of, forest everywhere. It's stunning. And
you're having ceremony and reception in the same place? Okay. And what sort of time are you looking at starting your ceremony?
Probably mid to late afternoon. We want to make sure that we're not right out there in the middle of the heat of the day. And also with photos, I think they look a little bit better at dusk, so we're going to wait. It'll be perfect timing.
That's a good call, yeah. How many guests are you expecting?
We wanted a really small wedding. We're at 60 guests.
Right.
Let's hope it doesn't go any much further, but yeah, we're looking about 60 of close friends and family.
Okay. Fantastic. So that's now all locked in. How about a celebrant?
Not yet. So
Okay.
he's next on the list. I saw Chris on the show the other week.
Ah, great.
So he'll probably be getting a phone call from
Oh,
us
good.
too. But yes, we're on the celebrant next.
Okay. What else have you got booked in?
We went cake tasting the other day. So
Yum.
we decided on cakes, which is great.
Okay.
And of course the dress.
Ah, so you got your dress?
Got the dress.
All right, tell us the story about the dress.
The dress, I'm not one of those brides that got really excited about having the dress. And
So you're not doing a big meringue?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
Oh, okay.
Doug might be watching.
Oh, true.
Well, with the dress, I was never really excited about it, and I didn't know what to expect. And the first time you go into a bridal store, there's just so many dresses, big dresses, lace dresses, and you're just kind of a little bit overwhelmed by it all. And I went wedding dress shopping a couple of times. The first time I went with my mum and my sister-in-law, and they pulled out these dresses, and I really only tried one on because I wasn't really sure about it, and I loved it, and I thought, you know what, it will do. And that was my answer, it will do. Anyway, I had a bit of a think about it, and I had a chat to one of my friends, and I said, look, there's this dress that I like, but I'm not 100% sure, and I'd like to go try it again. And this was in Hamilton, of all places. So her and I took a road trip down there, met up with a friend that we went to Paris with as well. And we tried on the dress, and she looked at it, she goes, you know what, you don't love it. And she pulled out this other dress that was completely nothing that I would have ever chosen. And I put it on. I just remember my face lighting up, and she got this amazing shot of me. I just looked really happy in it. I'm like, it's really nice, but it looked like a real wedding dress. And for me, I just couldn't get that whole concept of the wedding dress. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna think about it. Think about it. And so I decided we'll have a look up in Auckland. I took my mum and one of my bridesmaids with me, and did some more dress shopping, and we tried on all these dresses, and I was like, you know what, nothing's really standing out. And the lady there, her name was Colleen, it was at a wedding dress place out in Waitakaris. And she pulls out this dress, she goes, look, I know this is not what you visioned by what you've described, but bear with me, try it on. It's exactly the same dress that we tried on in Hamilton.
Obviously
So
meant to
again,
be.
meant to be. So put it on, exactly the same reaction, tick, another one done.
Good, great. Brilliant. Now, Theresa, we're going to be checking in with you again, hopefully in the next 4 or 5 months, see how you're getting on. And then, as I say, we're also going to see you after the day and see how all the plans all came together, and your day was absolutely perfect.
Great,
So-
look forward to it.
Thank you so much for joining me.
No worries at all.
I've been chatting to Theresa, who will be getting married in February of next year, and we're going to be checking in with her in the next few months as well to see how her progress is going, and then we will also be seeing her after her wedding to see how the whole day came together. Now, my tip of the week, budgets. Now, this is a very tricky one when it comes to budgets. Nobody really likes talking about them, nobody likes putting them together, but it is a vital thing that you need to do. And it's something that you need to actually do correctly. Don't do it on the back of an envelope or on a scrap of paper. You actually need to get an Excel spreadsheet going. And you need to be honest. Because especially us girls, we like to cheat on this one. We like to put little expenses across and pretend that they're not really there. And that's not really helping anybody. So create an Excel spreadsheet with one column with all the items that you think that you are going to be spending, another column with how much you believe that they are going to cost you, and then once you have actually purchased that item, you need to put in the actual amount so that you've got a careful record of how much your wedding is actually costing you. It is really, really important that you've got a careful track of how much you are actually spending. Right, so I'm Nicky for the guest list. Thank you for joining us. And if any of you have any wonderful and interesting wedding stories that you'd like to come on the show and share with us, we'd love to hear from you. So please go to www.theguestlist.co.nz, and I will see you next week. Happy planning.